restoring the virtue of women. Now I need to start off this video with a message to you ladies out there. The fact of the matter is that women tend to identify with Team Woman far too readily. And if you're not careful, you're going to knee-jerk into that position. When I talk about generalizations about women, generalizations that are generally true, many of you women out there are going to be tempted to knee-jerk into defending Team Woman. I ask that you hold off from doing that. The particular reasons this is such a temptation, and why you should avoid this, we'll get to later. But for now, I'd like to address the men. Men, the degeneration of women in this society is not your fault. It's not your fault that 2/3 of divorces are broken apart due to frivolous reasons on the woman's behalf. It's not your fault that women are choosing to spend their 20s pursuing the next high with a bad boy or a drug dealer at the club, 80% of them sleeping with 20% of the guys. Even if you are one of the guys that owns every book that Roosh has published and has his day game laid quite flat, it's still not your fault. You're just giving her the option of being a whore with you. She's the one that chose to be a whore in the first place, and if it wasn't you, it'd be some other jerk. And finally, it's not your fault, men, that women are obsessed with these meaningless careers, with this meaningless consumerism, spending all of their paycheck on a $500 purse to compete with other women, and then posting about it on the social media to validate their egos. This is not your fault. Eve is the one that ate the apple, and so long as you aren't some sort of white knighting beta male Adam, this is not your fault. However, it is your problem. Women are not going to be the ones to fix the present day woman. They're not going to be the ones to restore virtue to her. It's up to us men. What this all boils down to is the differences in the way that men and women think. See, I see so many of you guys bemoaning the fact that women are so easy to manipulate, that they're so controlled by the media. And what this boils down to is the difference between brotherhood and sisterhood. Brotherhood is all about competition and hierarchy. Sisterhood is all about egalitarianism. Brotherhood, masculinity, focuses upon the objective truth, while femininity focuses upon the relative truth. And there's good reasons for this. As men, we need to earn our way into the sexual market. We need to justify the fact that we deserve to be fathers, so we compete with one another in an objective setting. Women, on the other hand, they have to fight to remain part of the tribe. At the heart of each woman is a terror of the day that she becomes sexually worthless. Women start out beautiful, young, and fertile, and they all grow old. And there's not an old woman on the planet that doesn't still have the heart of the 16-year-old girl she once was. Women know this, and so while men form the hierarchy, they form the trade union, essentially fighting against the worst of male instincts, the sort of things that you see in the black ghetto, where the only women getting any attention are the young teenage ones who quickly become used up, worthless single mothers relying upon a government check. The union of womanhood is to preserve older women. It's saying that if you want to sleep with any woman, you're going to also have to support the older ladies. You're going to have to support the tribe's children. And in the ancestral environment, this worked quite well. But in this present day environment, what we're seeing is this relative truth being completely exploited. See, men, we like the objective things. We like things like math, science, video games, things that are measurable, things that are absolute. Whereas women tend to focus on nurturing, on therapy, on fashion, things that are only relatively true. And so with the consumer culture that we have nowadays, it is so easy to manipulate women. See, you tell them a story with the commercial. You tell them a story about how this product is the cool new thing and everybody's doing it. And women, trying to conform, will buy that product. They'll buy the latest fashion. They'll get a mortgage for a house they can't afford because the TV told them to do it. Now with the marketers, see, they're amoral. They're just giving people whatever they want to hear. And right now, women want to hear that you can still find a husband at 35, that you'll be just as beautiful at 35 as you were at 20, that having a career is fulfilling, that it will make you feel more accomplished to be an HR persona than, for instance, being a mother, raising happy and healthy children. 50 years ago, there were ads telling women, buy this soap, it'll make you a better mother. Nowadays, it's saying, ignore the relationships, pursue the bad boys, buy our $500 purse. They're amoral. They give the audience whatever the audience is craving. The real culprits behind all of this, the real culprits behind the degradation of the modern woman, are the female mouthpieces behind all of this. I have a number of friends that come from the Maritimes on the East Coast there. And an interesting fact you probably didn't know about the city of Halifax is the female to male population ratio is roughly 2 to 1. As a consequence, for women to get any male attention, they have to slut it up. Because there's so many women desperate for the attention of so few men, the women there are quite easy. If you're looking for some meaningless sex, go to Halifax on vacation. But the interesting thing isn't just that the women are competing for more male attention. That's obvious. The interesting thing is what happens to the few virtuous girls that do live in Halifax. See, if you're a virtuous girl in Halifax who doesn't want to be a slut, who doesn't want to sleep with 20 guys before your 25th birthday, all the other girls pick on you. See, all these other girls have slept with 20 guys, 30 guys, 50 guys, and they don't want to be the only one. They want to lower all women to the same level. Once upon a time, women tried to raise up their sex. They tried to demand that women stay virgins. Nowadays, the inmates are running the asylum. In Halifax, it's the slutty women bullying any girl that isn't a slut. But in our day-to-day culture, if you look at the HuffPo, if you look at XO Jane, it's the damaged and sexually worthless women who are setting the standard. It's the feminists that hate men because they had a bad father. Or it's the sluts that went sleeping with all the bad boys in their 20s who are trying to normalize that, trying to say it makes them a better wife, and thus encouraging all other girls to be sluts. It's the women in the tech fields who are completely incompetent at their jobs that are trying to demand more affirmative action. And ladies, this is where I'm bringing it back around to you again. The sort of women that watch my videos that are in the audience here, you're the decent women. You're the women that if you're in the tech field, you're actually good at your job. And 10 years ago, if you met a woman in a tech field, a female engineer, female video game developer, whatever, you knew she was good. There was no affirmative action back then. You didn't worry about sexual harassment complaints from her. You knew she deserved a spot at the table. But in these days, with the Anita Sarkeesians, with all these feminists showing up in the tech circles, women are gradually getting excluded. Doesn't matter if you're competent. Nowadays, there are so many incompetent women in the tech fields, so many women that are far too willing to phone up HR and make a sexual harassment complaint, that men are getting paranoid. 10 years ago, when men dominated the field, there was no old boys club. Today, one is reappearing. And women in these tech fields, they know they have to go out of their way to assure men that they're not feminists, because men are far too aware of how dangerous feminists in these fields are. This is the thing with the modern system, ladies, is that the worthless women, The slutty women, the fat women, or the women with horrid personalities are the ones directing the narrative. They're trying to normalize their behavior. If they can drag all women down to their level, if they can make all women equally sexually worthless, then they're not sexually worthless. They're not being excluded from the tribe. So you get this instinct, which was originally meant to protect women as they got older, to make sure that men weren't just going to be complete sexual omega degenerates, sleeping with a different woman every week, but instead that men would actually be good men that would stand by their wife and raise their children. Taking that instinct, that's pro-civilizational, but you're allowing it to be guided by the monstrosities out there. Don't knee-jerk to Team Woman, because the leaders of this dialogue, the ones with the loudest voices that sound like they stand for you, do not stand for you. Now men, this is the moaning that I hear. That, yes, women are so easy to manipulate, to be guided down this path straight to hell. What are we supposed to do about it? Well, that's the thing. The answer's in the problem itself. You are exactly right. Women do worry about what everyone else is doing. They do worry about the common narrative. And they're terrified of being called a slut. Slut walks. In this day and age, we have slut walks, where every Britney Spears, every teeny bopper, every TV show, every magazine is celebrating slutdom. Nonetheless, women feel the need to have a slut walk to prove that it's okay to be a slut. Why do you think that is? It's because, deny it as much as they like, women are terrified of being labeled with that term. They're terrified of being described as sexually worthless, as not being worthy of marriage. They are terrified of becoming a cat lady, and that's why they're trying to ruin womanhood in general. You have more power than you think, men. It might seem like women are doing whatever the culture tells them to, and to a large extent they are. But just a bit of judgment from you on them when they behave in these horrid manners, it will do a world of good. Obviously, you have to be cautious about where you use this. But slut-shaming? Fat-shaming? This stuff works. This stuff will restore the virtue of womanhood. And all of those decent women out there, all those decent women that are being degraded by the rest of these whores, you ladies need to support the men when they're doing this. You need to be a part of this too. And anytime you see a guy writing something harsh about women, because most women are pretty screwed up nowadays, and guys are rightfully quite pissed off about it, don't knee-jerk into defending the woman, the slut, the single mother, the feminist. Don't jump to making exceptions for her, because that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to side with Team Woman. These women are not your sisters. These are the women tearing you down. Support the men, and give the men the benefit of the doubt when they say something that sounds mean. And men, acknowledge the power that you have. That women do look up to you for guidance, no matter how much they swear they don't. And if you start calling a slut, we'll have a lot less of them. Aurini out, folks.